I have dragons. I'll give you one.
Welcome back to Heroes and Whiskey. We are 3D printing our way through the D&D Monster Manual, and I am super excited about this season that we are headed into. The dragons are coming up, and we have a soft launch of that whole series with monster number 63, the Dracolich. This is going to be a fun next couple of months, and thanks for coming along for the ride. The good news is, if you're looking for Dracoliches out on my mini factory, there really are a ton of them. I think Dracolich is maybe the entry-level dragon for creators. So there's this one from Comet Lord Miniatures, $20, Malignox, the Reforged Dracolich. This one from Clinch Art, $20, Undead Dragon, maybe not quite decomposed enough. This green Dracolich from Cursed Forge Miniatures. It does say, it's kind of hard to tell how big it is. It does say it comes in large and huge sizes. It doesn't necessarily look like it has the detail for that, but still a cool model. This one from Fiend Slayer Games, Zarthagnax, the Undying. It's kind of hard to tell how big it is, but this is very much a traditional decomposing Dracolich look. Then there's this one from DM Stash, just $8, the Ancient Dracolich. It says it's gargantuan size, so that looks cool. There's this one from Flesh of Gods. You usually can't go wrong with their stuff. Again, maybe not as decomposed as I would like. And then Luke just recently came out with this one. I forget what this guy's name is. Something Everdeath. But it looks really cool. Definitely kind of the traditional decomposing Dracolich look. We've talked many times about having your figures on buildings. And this is definitely on that, and so if you don't like that, then this is not the way to go. But this is just a really, really cool design. The one I ended up picking, though, is this one from Mini Monster Mayhem. It's $25, which is quite a lot for one figure, so hopefully it lives up to its billing. It doesn't have the kind of traditional decomposing nature that you think of when you think of a Dracolich, but someone who printed it and painted it like this, and this was kind of what sold me on this. Like, if it's painted right, it absolutely looks like you would traditionally expect from a Dracolich. So let's print this guy out and see how he turns out. So the first thing is, he is massive. I mean, in terms of actual real-life scale, it is probably 8 or 9 or maybe even 10 inches tall from the very bottom of the base all the way to the top of one of its wings. The detail is really great. I mean, it seems like every bone and every tendon and every muscle they specially crafted. It really looks fantastic. I mean, it's hard, frankly, to design a skeleton, and they really did a good job. It's kind of up on top of a base. You can't tell from the turntable here, but the base itself is probably a good 4 or 5 inches tall, and so that's where it's starting off the ground, and then another 5-6 inches off the top of that. It is absolutely an imposing figure. You drop this on the table, and the adventure is about to end. So let's take a look at how this guy printed. And I have to be honest, this was probably one of the most challenging prints so far. It was the most challenging print to actually assemble once I got it printed. I made a bit of an executive decision. I had some issues with resin printing large bases before, and so I decided to print this base FDM. The base is actually 3 separate pieces. They did a pretty good job. You can see the seam running up here, but they're pretty well hidden, so they did a good job with that. But obviously you can see the FDM layer lines on here, and then some of the horizontal surfaces, you can definitely see some of those lines throughout. But, you know, that's not really what you're looking at, and it does kind of look like rocks, and so it's really not that bad. The biggest issue was that the rest of it is all printed in resin, and so this whole thing is very top. I can barely get this whole guy in here. This whole thing is very top heavy, and I was so worried about how it would hold up that I actually didn't glue it together until I came to make this episode. But you can see it really looks fantastic. I mean, it's really beautifully done. Everything from the pose, to the look on its face. Again, they built this whole skeleton from scratch, which I know is not easy. So I will say about this thing, though, the one thing is, the wings can come in different pieces. And unfortunately, the connection points are so small, so you can see all of these are connected here. They are so small that it's actually really difficult to glue the wings together. And so all of the attachment points are like that. And so especially when you got these big, heavy, these large pieces, the amount of torque that it was putting on these join points, this thing, I failed in my attempt to glue it together on multiple occasions. So finally, I got patient enough to just sit there and hold it, and eventually it did come together. And so, the good news is once you get it together, it really does look seamless. It really is kind of a well-done production. But I won't lie, it was very much a challenge to glue this whole guy together successfully. And you can even see he did fall over a couple of times, and so a couple of his fingers on this claw right here broke off. But overall, it looks great. If you can be patient with putting it together, it absolutely looks fantastic. So in terms of size, you can see that it's really just massive. I couldn't take a picture of it inside the space that I have set up to do that. It is just absolutely huge compared to a 6-foot figure. I don't even know how big it's designed to be, 50, 60 foot wingspan, maybe more. It is probably the equivalent of 50 feet off the ground to the top of its head. This is absolutely the final monster that your party is going to battle, and I just really love the way that it turned out. But it did take a long time to print. Now, as I said before, the cost is $25. That is absolutely worth it for a figure of this size and this quality. But to print all of the pieces, including the FDM bases and everything else that I did resin, was over 36.5 hours total print time. And so that brings our total cost up to $537, and it shoots our total print time all the way up over 12 days. So if you need a Dracolich, this one from Mini Monster Mayhem looks beautiful, and there are many other options out on my mini factory if you want a slightly different style. Next up, we are officially into dragon season, and we're going to start with the lowliest of all dragons, the Shadow Dragon.